In this fast-paced 21st century world, the importance of talking about mental health cannot be overstressed. Open dialogue about mental health can help everyone heal better. What people do not realize is that there are numerous ways to effectively treat mental health issues, and you can live a normal lifestyle by learning how to properly manage your mental health. The state of our mental health affects how we think, how we feel, and ultimately how we all act. It's crucial that we express these emotions with others on a daily basis. By talking about mental health openly, more people would be encouraged to seek professional help.
Just now you heard the importance of mental health. It's very neglected subject in India, because normally if you are asked to take help of a psychiatrist, people think, what's wrong with me? I'm perfectly okay. They think only people with acute mental problems require such help. Actually, that's not true. We had actually arranged for a counselor some years back, and she was here for almost 3 years. Unfortunately, very few students took her advice or went to her. Though I know that there was a lot of problems which was happening in our college. People have at this stage problem, emotional problems, some kind of a depression. You see, when in my soft skill classes, I always say that there was a research which said that almost everyone on this planet Earth, sometime in their life, faces depression. You can actually solve with counseling and taking professional help, which normally people are not, motivated enough to go and take. So I think this event is going to be very beneficial for our students.
Basically, I have been working in mental health for a long period of time in Kolkata, and I work a lot with school students and young people, and many people come to me for internship as well. When I speak to the young students, I always say that when we talk about physical health, suppose I break my hand and I have a cast, I ask all my friends to sign it, get well soon, and that's my DP for the next 4 weeks. Unfortunately or fortunately, COVID has made a change. We are seeing more and more people coming and talking to us about mental health, and especially young people. I really appreciate that. They are wanting to talk about, but unfortunately the resources we have is not enough. We find that almost 3/4 of the people who are suffering from mental health do not approach people because of the stigma, because of the lack of resources, because of the fact that they are going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. They both suffer from mental health issues. They both know that they come and see me, but they won't share the waiting area. They always ask when they take an appointment if the other gentleman is coming or not. So mental health remains stigmatized, but what we need is opportunities like this where we can talk openly about mental health.
Mental health, stigma is of course there. It's everywhere. It's there, it's here. US is a little bit more open, but it is still there. And I live in Midwest, which is a very conservative part. I don't live in New York or Chicago. But once we break the ice and we get the patients and we treat them, patients get very better, like what Dr. Garg said. And the earlier you come for treatment, the better you do. I mean, out of 150 people here, if you look at the statistics, at least 10%, so at least 15 of you have actually a diagnosed psychiatric illness. We also know that psychiatric illness is not just mental illness. It is actually a kind of a physical illness. There's a change in brain chemistry. And so when we give the medications and psychotherapy, that changes the brain chemistry. So it's very important to treat it. In Michigan, there's a very famous poet called Theodore Roethke, and he said one very wonderful thing. He said, there is always a a way to go to the top of the hill, but you don't know the path because the path begins from the bottom of the hill.
I have a 23-year-old female in the emergency room who is suicidal. She overdosed on approximately 40 Cymbalta tablets. She does have a history of cutting. She recently started seeing Dr. Ingram outpatient. Poor sleep, poor appetite. Could I get admission orders for her?
Asylums were never abolished, only rebranded. As mass incarceration, as a homelessness epidemic, as skyrocketing medical bills.
People think that you look at somebody and can see they've got a problem. People have mental illness and they look like normal people.
People don't really know that living with pain is just unbearable. It's unbearable.
It was very, very difficult because I had no idea what was happening to me. It's like I had no control whatsoever. It's taken me probably 35 years to get past that guilt.
A lot of people say, oh, I'm gonna go kill myself, and I realize like how offensive and how hurtful that could be.
It has nothing to do with willpower. It has nothing to do with whether you're masculine or feminine.
I can't afford to keep a car, so I can't get to a job, so I can't this and I can't that.
Mental illness and poverty, those things kill you.
Meds at one point were like $4,000 a month.
Mental illness is real. Our suicide rates are higher than they've ever been. People who have mental illness die sooner.
They are already the easiest to neglect. With that mentality, I think you also get this sort of a dumping ground that goes back for centuries.
The biggest threat to public health and safety in some ways is mental health.
As a teacher, what we have seen, I think I can speak on behalf of the faculty members as well, especially during the pandemic, when they were on online mode of classes, the common trend that everybody here can identify, all the students can identify, is they were on the Zoom meeting but not really on the Zoom meeting. So they would put their mics and their cameras off. But somewhere when we all started to connect a little bit more and they understood that this is a process of class, a lot of them actually told us that we didn't feel like attending the class. And I kind of, as a teacher, I think others as well have picked up on this feel like was, I can't medically diagnose it, but for me it was like ringing a bell that somewhere their interest level was not there because they felt that such a thing was happening in the world. What am I doing in an online class? And that we were understanding that something is weighing on them. Some things, that could be anything. Now, ever since then, I think we've had a lot of cases where students have told us that I want to reach out for help. And right alone in our classes, we have found people asking us if we know any psychiatrists. And we can also give you a case study of people who have not told their parents or their family members that they are consulting a psychiatrist, but they've taken it, they've thought that we can be confided in, and they've told their teachers that I'm going there. Some have been diagnosed with ADHD, some have been given some other expertise. So my humble question to all of you, to both of you is, as a teacher, so what can we do as teachers definitely to give this statement out to the students as well, that it is a safe environment here, or it is safe to talk to us? What can we do better, sir?
Pandemic has changed the world, and as you said, we are looking at a new normal. And I was just speaking with Mr. Chopra there, and I said, sir, please continue the counselor that you had. And I'm really sorry to hear that she left because not many people were consulting, but I'm sure things will change, and I am seeing a change in the young people. I'm also glad that the faculty members are taking note that people are coming to them with mental health issue. That's a big start. So that's already you have taken the first step, and congratulations to the faculty for doing that. What we need to understand is that mental health is a problem. It is not going to go away, and people do need help with that. So the best thing that you can do is at least acknowledge the fact that yes, this is an illness like any other illness. There are options in terms of treatment available, which includes medication and counseling. And I'm glad one of my friends, Ms. Pooja Arora, she is a counselor here, is here today. So I'm really thankful to her to taking time out and being here in the audience. And she can guide us and she can tell us. She does see a lot of young people, and we work collaboratively here. So we are seeing more and more young people, and the fact that you can facilitate them to get help goes a long way. So guiding them, often like one of the patients mentioned in the film, is people think that they are quote unquote abnormal. But we do realize now that mental health is like any other physical illness. It has its origins in the brain. There are changes in the brain chemistry. There are changes within the brain that cause you or make you feel or do things which you would not normally want to do. So the reason why I do this annual fest, Get Your Act Together, is often people blame it on the weakness, blame it on their own individual selves. They feel guilty. They think that there's something wrong with them in terms of their own behavior or in terms of them not having the strength or the capacity to cope. But it is not actually that. It is not that you're not doing things. It is because you're not able to do things. So that's where the difference arises. And if you can convey that message to the young people, convey that to the young minds that no, it is not your fault. It is something within the brain which is making you do this. As long as you acknowledge that, as long as you acknowledge that yes, it is due to something which is out with their control, that goes a long way. So I think if we can just convey that message to them, that will help a lot.
Thank you so much, sir.
You know, we are the first people that our students come to, right? And yes, we are telling them that you can seek help, you can do this. Do you want to talk to your parent? Do you not want to talk to your parent? But there is an issue where from advocating mental health and destigmatizing mental health, reaching out for help, we often cross into counseling. And that places a burden on us. We do a disservice to the profession. We do a disservice to our students. Where is that boundary, and how do we stay aware of not crossing that line and respecting that boundary? That's number one. The other thing about talking, and this is also for my students to hear, I have some of our first years here. You know, with greater awareness, sirs, about issues, you have a lot of loose usage of the words toxic, gaslighting, OCD, narcissist. I mean, that is something, panic anxiety disorder. I'm having an attack. So without trivializing, we end up trivializing the concepts when we put it into everyday language without understanding what goes behind it. How do we as teachers step in there and have the conversation going, tell them that it's okay to talk, but tell them to be mindful of their language, because from language, you know, stems concept.
If somebody is having a bad day, they say, oh, I'm having a panic attack. That's not actual panic attack. That's like one of the characters said, that is just being anxious at the moment, right? So they need to have like a diagnosed psychiatric illness. But at the same time, you know, the students look up to the teachers. So whether you want it or not, you will be dragged into it. And really, they look at you as a role model. So it's okay to do some counseling, but not keep the burden on yourself. And somebody like Pooja Arora, can help them, or we can ask Pradeep Bhai to have a counselor, or maybe if you feel that somebody has a really a psychiatric illness, then here refer to someone like Dr. Garg, and then he can treat. Of course, there's a huge difference. People don't understand that psychiatrists usually don't do therapies. Okay. We generally just give the medications, just like regular doctors. I mean, I was trained in psychotherapy, and I like to do a little bit of psychotherapy, but we just give medications generally. But then there are a lot of other psychologists you can. That's a tough thing, because patients, they look up to you, and like what you said, they don't want to tell the parents. It's okay. You have the right to privacy. You don't have to tell the parents. But I think that's, you are in a bind, but you have to be there for them. So you have to just pick up.
Recently the time has become very fast, and it is becoming faster with the advent of the information technologies. We get information well in advance, and sometimes such informations are very stressful. In some fields, business and all, advanced informations are a boon, but whereas in personal matters it is a curse. So it generates a lot of stress, and this stress leads to a lot of mood disorders. Now in India, we normal Indian patients, they are not very keen to visiting doctors frequently, even for physical illness or anything. So right, for these mood disorders, when the frequency rises, do we need counseling? That's what I wanted to know. And how to handle such mood disorders.
Right.
It is very common in the people who are working in the corporate world, those who have to meet the deadlines, those who have to meet the targets. For them it is very stressful, and this generates a lot of mood disorders at home. So how do we manage that?
If you have anxiety or depression, yeah, you need medication. And in this day and age, with so much of the stress, I mean, not just the social media stress, but the job stress, I mean, therapy is great. I mean, it really helps. In all the big corporations, they have psychologists and therapists. They are putting more and more resources and efforts into that.
So as students, one thing that I have seen amongst a lot of other students is that they know that they have a problem, and it's evident, when I see somebody who is neurodivergent, being a neurodivergent person, when I see somebody else who is neurodivergent, I want to help them out. But just a peer is sometimes not enough for them. But people are always, they're stuck in this, they don't want to get diagnosed. Some people are scared of a diagnosis because often, which even I have experienced, is that diagnosis leads to, it is hard before it gets easier to live with a diagnosis. And when somebody gets, some people think that diagnosis is a label. And like, if I have ADHD, that means I cannot focus. If I have ADHD, that means I can't express my thoughts to everybody. And to, as a peer, it feels sad when you see somebody and they cannot express and they are so scared, and that's a line that I, as a student, as a person of their age, I can't cross that. And I can always suggest that you can do this, but people themselves, they don't want to get diagnosed. I feel that people don't want to fix themselves, and they don't see that they need fixing. How do we help that out?
It is a common problem that we face day in and day out, and unfortunately stigma, lack of resources, not having money, all those sort of things go a long way in people not wanting the label, so-called label, etc., etc. I'm glad that we are screening this movie here in iLEAD, and I'm sure it's going to go a long way in helping reduce the stigma. It opens up the conversation. I know it's difficult at times when you have someone whom you can see are suffering from things, you want to reach out, you want to help out, but they're very resistive about it, and you really feel frustrated about it. So there are few things that you can do. One, don't take it only upon yourself. So try to involve your friends or others whom you feel confident enough to help. Your faculty members are excellent here. They are ready to help, so involve them if possible. I've spoken to Mr. Chopra if we can have a counselor back again. So that's the other thing. But the important part is to stick around. They will eventually open up. They will eventually realize that yes, there are things going wrong and they need help. So the important part is to stick along, not leaving them behind, trying to take them along, trying to sort of involving them in things as you go along. So the important part, what we call is psychological first aid. So you need to be able to sort of make them realize that yes, you are there for them, because often the anxiety, the difficulty that they face before opening up is the fact that one, they may be stigmatized, and two, the other person may walk away. That insecurity kills them. That insecurity sort of stops them from seeking help. So as long as they know that yes, you're going to be there, things will eventually fall in place. It was a very eye-opening experience with the interaction we have had with Mr. Chopra, the faculty here, and especially the young people who are attending iLEAD here. They have taken a lot of pains to sort of bring about what is difficulties that they face in terms of mental illness. They've also been very open to talk about it, and I'm glad that we are taking this opportunity to talk about mental health. Congratulations to iLEAD for organizing this, and I'm sure this is one of the many more programs to come in future.
Wonderful experience. I know, Mr. Pradeep Chopra, I call him Pradeep Bhai, for many, many years. And I had given a talk here in iLEAD before, I think in 2014. But this was very well done. I love the passion of this place. The moderator was excellent, and everybody really enjoyed the film that I produced. That was good. It was a very captive audience. The students were very interested. So very gratifying. I've shown this film in many venues in US, but this is the first one in India. So great experience.